Hello and welcome to Have You Tried Rolling Better, your source for Warhammer Underworlds battle reports. Today we have a very special match between Garreks Reavers and Godsworn Hunt. Let's kick this off by talking about our first warband for today, Garreks Reavers. This consists of Garrek Gorebeard, Blooded Sake, Karsus the Chained, Targor, and everybody's favorite, Arnulf. And so all of these guys are designed to be very fast, very swarmy. They're all speed 4 base, 1 dodge, so they move in, they die quickly, and then they have okay but not great offensive stats to start. Blooded Sake is the only one with 3 damage, Karsus and Garrek have 2 damage, and then Targor and Arnulf only have 1 damage attacks. A mix between Smash and Fury, but in general, decent, nothing to write home about. And then their Inspire mechanic is that they need to have at least 3 fighters from either warband taken out of action. And so what that typically means is you charge in with a piece, you kill something, your opponent retaliates, kills the thing you sent in, and then you charge in with a second piece and kill something of theirs, and then your remaining 4 guys are flipped. And then so when they flip, they all get faster, they all go up to speed 5. Targor gets an extra point of damage. Karsus gets a extra point of damage on his ranged attack, and his Savage Whirl gets what is now known as Scything. Sake gets Cleave. Garrek gets an extra point of damage, and Arnulf gets an extra die and has a bonus damage on crit. And so they kind of just get faster and killier, so the whole goal of the warband is to kind of just go all out, not really care about what happens to your pieces, and just try and do as much damage as quickly as possible, and hopefully in the mayhem rack up more glory than your opponent. And then their deck for this episode is a pretty decent mix. They have a number of nifty faction-specific cards, particularly in their objective pool with Blood for the Blood God, Draw the Gaze of Khorne, It Begins, Khorne Cares Not, and Let the Blood Flow. And then we kind of amp that up with a lot of fighting-specific cards. So we've got Pure Carnage, which requires 7 fighters to be dead at the end of the game. It's very common for you to kill 2 and your whole warband will be wiped out, or maybe you only have 1 guy left, but you killed 3 of them. But so it's not entirely uncommon to score that at the end of the game, just with how lethal they are as a team. With the Gambits, you've got a lot of fighting-specific choices, Ready for Action, My Turn. Galvanized is really good because they're very much a fire and forget kind of team. And then you have pieces like Last Chance to maybe keep them alive. Blood Offering, Fueled by Slaughter, and Insensate are some of the more interesting faction-specific cards, giving you a lot of little tools. And then finally, in the upgrades, it's a lot of general good stuff, but Frenzy as the faction-specific upgrade to keep an eye on. And in general, just a very solid warband for going full aggro and just trying to charge as much as possible. Something's probably gone horribly wrong or horribly right if you aren't charging for all 12 activations. And then let's switch over and talk about the faction I'm going to be playing today, the Godsworn Hunt. And so this team consists of Thedra Skullscryer, Grundon Bloodeye, Shond Headclaimer, Jagathra, Ullo, and everybody's favorite, Grawl. And so, like the Garreks Reavers, the Godsworn Hunt are very much a fast fire and forget team. You've got 3 health fighters, 3 2 health fighters. They're all speed 4. They all start at 1 dodge. And they've got decent damage across the board. No 3 damage fighter, but they have 3 2 damage fighters. And Jagathra has a once per game with her Javelin, where if she charges, it's plus 1 damage, which is pretty nice. And you've got a wizard in Thedra, though, as we'll get into that a little bit later, she tends to be not as good as other wizards because she only starts off as a level 1 wizard, which means that she has a hard time playing gambits early, and that is not exactly where you want to be, especially with such a fragile spellcaster. You want to be able to cast spells as soon as you get them. And their upgraded stats, which they get once they have an upgrade applied to them, makes them a fair bit faster and killier. So Thedra becomes wizard level 2, though that's not super valuable, and she gets an extra point of damage on her Dark Oath wand. Grundon gets an extra point of damage, and interestingly gets an extra point of speed, which a lot of people don't seem to be prepared for. Shand gets a bonus die and cleave, and his dodge turns into a block. Jagathra gets an extra die on her knife, and then Olo gets a bonus die, cleave, and an additional dodge. And Grawl gets an extra speed, an extra dodge, and an additional die to hit. So they just kind of get better at everything they want to be doing anyways. They're not much tougher, they get a little bit faster, they get a little bit more killy. And they have 2 innate cleave fighters on the team, which is quite useful. And then let's get into the deck real quick. And despite being very similar to how Garreks Reavers want to play, there's a fair amount of little differences in how the deck's constructed. So starting off with objectives, we've got some faction-specific ones in Dark Rewards, Oath of Conquest, Oath of Murder, and Worthy Kill. So for those of you who haven't played as or against Godsworn Hunt before, one of their special faction mechanics that they have are oath objectives. And so oath objectives are all objectives that you can reveal at the start of your first action on a turn, and if you complete them, then you get an additional glory. So Oath of Murder, normally 1 glory. It says if you kill the enemy leader, you get a glory. If you revealed it, you get an additional glory. So it's 2 glory for killing your opponent's leader, which can be nice if you're really going hard on their leader as a linchpin. And then Oath of Conquest is one I really love. 2 glory, 3 if you revealed it. At the end of the 3rd end phase, so at the end of the game, if all of your fighters are in your opponent's side of the board, and it doesn't have a bottom limit on how many fighters you have to have, so you can just have 1 fighter chilling in their back corner off of a Faneway Crystal as a final activation or something, and it gets you 3 glory. Escalation obviously is a must here because this whole team is built around upgrading them. For the gambits, it's got a lot of accuracy, it's got a little bit of damage, and some card draw with Duel of Wits and Improvisation. The one tech card I like here is Curious Inversion. I find it very useful on warbands that have a lot of fury and a lot of dodge, which my warbands do. And since they have 2 innate cleave fighters, this means that you can turn anybody from dodge to block if you really need an attack to hit. It also helps that both of your cleave fighters are innate fury, so they turn to smashes as well. So it's almost a guaranteed hit, especially because you're rolling more dice than your opponent, so you're way more likely to get crits than them. In the upgrade pool, we've got a lot of common sights with Crown of Avarice, Faneway Crystal, Great Strength. Prize Vendetta is very popular nowadays since Power Unbound came out. Path to Glory is another kind of interesting faction-specific card. You can only put it on a fighter once you have an upgrade already on them, but it gives you an additional wound and an additional die to all of your attacks, so that can be really powerful once you get going. You can turn Grundon or Thedra into a really nasty fighter. And then we've got Fighter's Ferocity and Concealed Weapon, because we tend to be rolling a lot of dice to ensure that all of our attacks hit, because we're trying to charge as much as possible. By having large dice pools, that means we're going to be having a lot of shot at crits, and so getting bonus damage off of crits is very attractive. And with that, why don't we just get into it? And with that, let's hop into game 1. I end up winning board selection and choose Molten Shard Pit, while my opponent puts down the Soul Refractor. We roll off and tie on the initial roll off, and with the second roll off, Garreks wins, and I end up deploying first. I place Thedra middle of the board. He places Garrek in a similar positioning. I place Jagthra. He places Arnulf. And then from there, we kind of just place our pieces in the most aggressive remaining positions possible, with Dog in the back. For his first activation, he charges in with Karsus onto Jagthra, and rolls a crit to my nothing, taking her out. And scores him precise use of force. I score Martyr, so by the end of his activation, he's up 2 glory to my 1. I play Fueled by Fury, looking to get revenge, and I charge Shand in, standing him on the objective. Don't roll any successes, re-roll into no successes. He plays Prize Vendetta, targeting Grundon. I put Crown of Avarice down on him. Second activation, he charges in with Garrek. Rolls double crit to my block, so I take 2 damage. He elects to not push me anywhere. For my second activation, I go on guard with Grundon, under the expectation that unless he has an upgrade, he can't get to me. He ultimately has Dark Darts, and charges in with Arnulf, getting the support on the attack. He gets success crit to my nothing. I played Dark Destiny to attempt to survive, but it doesn't work out. He scores Champions all off of that. And so after the Crown of Avarice steals his glory, it's 3-2 his favor. I charge in with the dog, get a single success. And we tie off of that, so I push him into the lethal hex, so I at least do some damage to him. Jorn plays Blood Offering to score Master of War at the end of the round, so you can't really get to any of my pieces anymore unless I get closer to him. And then after some deliberation, he moves a piece around for his fourth and final activation. I charge in with Olo, attempting to finish him off, and with no successes, can't kill him. Into the round, he scores solid gains and Master of War, while I score nothing, which puts me in a bit of a bind, 5 glory to my 2. He equips Light Armor and Potion of Rage to empower his forces, and I just draw back up to full. He wins the roll-off again. And after looking at his cards, he elects to charge, attempt to kill my dog. He succeeds, netting him an additional glory, and he equips his own Crown of Avarice to try and punish me for getting revenge. I equip Prize Vendetta to Thedra, targeting Garrek. First activation, I charge in onto Garrek, attempting to kill him, and with a crit and a success, thanks to Prize Vendetta and Twist the Knife, I am able to finish him off. That scores me worthy kill, and he plays Galvanized in response to get 2 extra attack dice on his next attack. He plays Lethal Strike. I equip Path to Glory onto Thedra, making her tougher. He equips Frenzy. And then charges, hoping that a crit will double his damage and give him lethal, but he fails to roll a single crit. I equip Fighter's Ferocity and Dark Darts onto Olo, which effectively gives him the same attack as he would have Inspired, but I need him Inspired right now. And I'm able to do a single wound to his fighter and push him away. He plays Haymaker, preparing to go in on Shand, charges in, and with his massive dice pool, he double crits, taking Shand out. And it's looking pretty rough at this point, as I have only 2 fighters, and he scores Blood for the Blood God and Draw the Gaze of Khorne to boot. I go on guard with Olo. He moves up to prepare for the final turn, and then I charge onto Objective 3, which scores me Change of Tactics, and I also take out his fighter. I also score Champions All for killing 2 different enemies this round. And so end of round, he scores Khorne's Cares Not, and It Begins. I score Cover Ground and Oath of Murder. I win the roll-off and reveal Oath of Conquest, which I will score if I can get all my fighters into his zone by the end of the round. After deliberation, I go on guard with Olo, ensuring that he survives long enough for me to get him across the line. He equips Rising to the challenge since Garrek is dead. He plays Inspired Attack, and I react with Duel of Wits. And for his first activation, he charges in onto Thedra after fixing his routing issues. with a truly massive dice pool, is able to one-shot her. I use Last Chance to attempt to save her, but fail. I equip Fenway Crystal. He plays Sudden Growth, expecting me to try and kill his fighter. I play Improvisation to refuel my hand. And then for my second activation, I move into the back corner, and because he played Sudden Growth, he can no longer get onto me. So, barring a movement play of his own, he is unable to attack my final fighter for the rest of the round, so I'm guaranteed 3 glory, which is pretty nice. At this point, we go back and forth, trading cycling objective cards to try and maximize our glory count for the end of the game. I equip Great Speed just to play more upgrades. And when it comes down to it, I score Escalation and Oath of Conquest, getting me up to 12. He scores Pure Carnage, which gets him up to 17, which gives him a commanding 5-point glory lead for Game 1. And then we re-rack for Game 2. This time I go for the Arcane Nexus and he goes for the Cursed Oubliette. I win the roll-off and make him deploy first this time. And this time around I go a little bit more conservative with my placements. I put Jagthra forwards as I expect to lose her either way. But with the bonus crit to start, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to throw her away before anything happens. Unfortunately, he wins the roll-off and decides to charge in to kill Jagthra before anything can be said or done. And she gets removed. He equips Crown of Avarice onto Garrek off of that. After some deliberation, I go on guard with Thedra. He charges in to try and put the hurt onto Thedra, but fails thanks to me going on guard. I play Fueled by Fury, playing to send Thedra in. I charge her through a Lethal Hex to get calculated risk. I also score Change of Tactics for my troubles. But even with Fueled by Fury, I don't get any successes. He charges in on Shond, rolls a crit to my Jackal, and he gets tied up in glory, and then uses Blood for the Blood God to tip himself in 3-2 to his favor. Third activation, I charge in with Grundon. Going after Garrek, I get a single crit. And he doesn't get enough to stop me, so he takes 2 damage and is pushed away. He equips Prize Vendetta, targeting Grundon, and charges in, attempting to get revenge. He gets double crit to my single crit, and 2 crits are more than 1. So he pushes away Grundon, leaving him on 1 health. I play Haymaker, and charge in with Olo, attempting to finish off Garrek. But even with 4 dice and single support, I am unable to even tie to push him into the lethal hex. Roll off for round 2, we tie, and the second time I win, which allows me to go first. I reveal Oath of Murder, showing off my plans to kill Garrek this round. Vedra attempts to do the deed, but fails miserably. He charges in with Garrek. And is able to finish her off. He plays Potion of Constitution on Garrek, attempting to keep him alive a little bit longer. I equip Great Speed to Grundon and play Inspired Attack. And I charge him in to finish off the leader. With a crit and 2 successes, his mere crit is unable to keep Garrek alive. But he plays Last Chance and fails. I score Oath of Murder and Worthy Kill and rocket up to 7 glory to his 4, but I'm pretty far behind on board right here. Jordan plays Galvanize and Rising to the challenge. After much deliberation, charges in onto Olo. Zero successes, and he is fine. Olo attempts to shoot him, as he's adjacent, doesn't want to get support or forfeit the ability to attack in the 4th activation by charging. I fail and am unable to do damage or push him away. 3rd activation, he charges onto the objective in my back zone, attempts to kill the dog. I try and invoke the dog's dark destiny, but I'm unable to save him. For my final action, I attack again, and this time I get a crit, do a nice little point of damage and push him away. For his 4th and final action, he charges in onto Grundon and outrolls his defense, I attempt to play Last Chance. But once he's pushed into the lethal hex, he is killed anyways. Bit of a silly play error there, but here we are. Jordan scores Khorne Cares Not. I don't score anything, which gives him an 8-7 glory lead going into the final round. I win the roll-off, which is very nice because I would like to at least have Olo alive at the end. First activation, I attack, roll double crit, do a point of damage and push him away. I equip Crown of Avarice onto Olo just in case he can't survive. He plays Haymaker. I respond with Duel of Wits, which ultimately let me equip Path to Glory onto Olo, giving him an extra wound, which is nice. I also equip Feinway Crystal, and at this point I just go on an equipment spree. Concealed Weapon, Fighter's Ferocity. I may or may not have Escalation in hand. I also equip him with Tome of Glories for good measure. He charges in. I scored Martyred a bit late. He scores Precise Use of Force off of that. And at this point, we just trade objective drawing until he suicides in to the lethal hex there. End of round, he scores solid gains in pure carnage. I only get escalation, which gives him a 13-12 victory over me. He also had ready for action if I had survived that. All in all, I think it's an interesting matchup between Garreks Reavers and Godsworn Hunt. They're very much fire and forget missiles. They've played very similarly, but the differences between their faction-specific cards and their bodies and their Inspire mechanic actually makes for a really interesting game where the Godsworn Hunt want to get up on glory so they can really tune themselves, and Garreks Reavers are really just looking to cause mayhem so that they can turn on fully. And thank you for watching. If you have any feedback about how we can improve these battle reports or what warbands you want to see next, let us know either in the comments or on social media, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.